Should we include a spoiler alert thingy?
Yeah.
Hey, spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert!
For a variety of different shows.
Yeah, there's a bunch of shows.
Oh, we can just pop them up on the screen. That's
Right there.
Right there.
And all over there. Because it's a big list.
Oh, there.
Yeah,
It's a big list.
lots
Okay.
of spoilers.
Alright. Hello.
Hello!
Hello.
Kevin's here.
Yeah!
I'm here. I exist.
And so today, we are going to do a ranking of our favorite TV shows and movies with queer representation in them. Because we thought that would be fun and minimal effort. It was more effort than we planned.
Yes.
It was a lot of effort for me. To be fair, I'm not good at making lists.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start at 10 and work our way down to 1 of just all of our favorite.
Top 10.
Our top 10. Yeah, they're not ranked on representation alone.
But they just have
They have it.
I mean, I guess I can go first.
Alright, Kevin,
All
go
right,
first.
Kevin.
What's your number 10?
My number 10 is actually Legend of Korra.
That makes sense.
That does make sense. I was talking about that earlier.
I haven't really revisited the series in a while. I revisit Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I watch that all the time.
I feel like Legend of Korra is just kind of like an extension of it
More or
to
less.
discuss like
Yeah.
more mainstream issues and like topics. And yeah, they ended the series where two characters at the end, Korra and Sammie, are implied to be a couple, which then it was
They hold
confirmed
hands.
that they are holding hands and they are an actual couple. And they
Wow.
continued the series as a comic series
Yes.
to explore their relationship. I feel like they missed an opportunity to actually do that within the show. That might have actually helped the show out a lot. But it's a gay representation in animated series. It's very rare.
Yeah.
Oh.
My number 10 is Shameless. Shameless is a great show. I put it at number 10 because it has representation, but it's not healthy. But to be fair, none of the relationships in the show are particularly healthy. So it's kind of iffy.
Within context, it's great.
It's a great show.
I love it so much.
It's just kind of iffy when it comes to that aspect of it.
My number 10 is Will and Grace.
Will and Grace.
Yeah, it's a very gay show, and it was one of the first like queer TV shows that were like on mainstream television. And they recently did a reboot.
All right, Kevin, number 9.
Number 9. So for number 9, I actually put How to Train Your Dragon. It's not really like LGBTQ related at all, but like they implied one of the characters was gay.
Oh yeah,
So they implied that he was gay, and then it was later confirmed by the writers that he was indeed gay. And like Legend of Korra, they didn't really explore that aspect of the sexuality in the actual series, which I wish they had. Definitely solidify that part of the character trait instead of just kind of implying it and putting it off to the side. And it's just something that I feel like they should be more confident in, and there's not many animated series or movies, films out there where that sexuality is part of the character, that whenever they're discussing it, other than being straight sexuality.
All right, my number 9. Handsome Devil. It's a movie that's on Netflix. It's like Scottish. It's kind of cliche. It's like this edgy queer kid who's getting bullied by all the jocks, and he befriends one of the jocks. And like, what I like about it is they don't actually officially get together at the end.
I was about to say, is the jock a secret gay?
Well, the jock is a gay. The bully is not gay. There is a gay kid on the football team, rugby team.
Yeah, because it's Scottish.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a cute movie. It's very wholesome. I watch it every now and then when I feel like down and I just want a feel-good movie.
My number 9 is One Day at a Time, and I'm sad it was canceled, but I think it got picked up by somebody. I don't remember.
Did it?
I think so. I thought it did. So it focuses on a Cuban-American family, and the mom is adjusting to being a single mom, also an Army veteran, and it talks about all sorts of like different aspects of LSD and all sorts of different things. But the teenage daughter, Elena, comes out as a lesbian, and the family's super accepting, but it also explores her father, who's more distant anyway, actually leaves her quinces because he just can't handle her being gay, and so it talks a lot about that.
Do you know what I didn't include at all or even think about?
What?
Love Simon or Love Victor?
Well, fuck those. We'll
I
talk
mean,
about...
we'll talk about those. 'Cause I thought about it too, and
Oh, I didn't even think about
That didn't even cross my mind.
like I thought about them. But number 8, Deadpool, because why not? You're exploring a pansexual anti-hero, and the movie just explores a lot of sex, sexuality, and violence. So those are things that I really enjoyed about that movie, and I also really like Deadpool as a character.
Number 8, I have Umbrella Academy. It is very, very good. It's written by my favorite musician, Gerard Way.
Oh, Gerard.
I've read the comics for this show. Yeah, the gay character in it, the reason I ranked it at 8 is because, like, he doesn't get a lot of time. Like, I mean, no, he has a lot of time, but there's not a lot of gay time in it. He's also a drug addict. He's lovable, and but he's like, it's not the best representation.
Is he a drug addict because he's gay?
No.
Alright, well then.
He's a drug addict because he sees dead people. But
Well, that would make anyone a drug addict.
It's great. You should watch it. Season 2 is coming out at the end of July. What's your number 8?
Good Girls.
Oh, I love Good Girls.
So Good Girls focuses on 3 normal suburban moms. One of them is Annie, and she's a disaster. She's the youngest, though. But Annie's kid comes out as trans in the 2nd season. Very, very cute. You kind of get the, like, gay vibes, because throughout the 1st season, and then you're like, oh boy! And they're talking about, like, how hormone treatment isn't covered through insurance, all this kind of stuff.
Oh, it doesn't focus on...
No, but it talks about
But
it.
it talks about it really well. Number 7.
I put Pitch Perfect. It's just another one of those movies near the bottom which has gay representation but doesn't exactly discuss it. But it's also one of those movies where it has like a majority female cast, and whenever that happens, there's like a lot of queer baiting, all the other stuff that happens and goes on, and whenever you have a bunch of characters together that aren't necessarily queer, but they want to express queerness in the show or the film itself.
Alright, my number 7 is The Fosters. The Fosters, they have a lot of queer representation. They have a lot of it. It's 2 moms who adopt like a bunch of kids. So there's one kid in it, Jude, who is gay. What I really enjoyed about it was the trans representation. They have 2 trans characters on there, and they kind of, with the first one, he's like in an all-girls home, and it talks about like how a lot of trans people are put in the right place because of their gender. It talks about the dangers of binding with incorrect material. It talks about how hard it is to get testosterone and how some people turn to getting it off the street and how that can be really dangerous. So it talks about some very important things in it when it does get to those, but it also is very light. It can also be a very happy show.
My number 7 is I'm Not Okay With This.
Oh, I've been meaning to watch that.
It's so good. It's super short. They're like 7 episodes, and they're only like 20 to 30 minutes long. It's about a teenager who's trying to figure out their own sexuality while also coming to terms with the fact that they have superpowers. And one description I saw of it was that the main character got so horny that she destroyed an entire forest. And low-key, that's kind of what happened.
It just be like that sometimes.
You know, sometimes you
Yeah.
just can't handle it. And it's just a very good show. It's on Netflix. It has the girl from It.
Number 6, Scott Pilgrim. I love Scott Pilgrim.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I love Scott Pilgrim.
Like they have Roxy, Ramona Wallace, who are not apologetically like. I mean, they discuss bisexuality in the film, and that's also something that's very rare in media. It's either you're straight or gay.
Even in the comics, Stephen Stills ends up being gay.
But I just love the part where they're always talking about their 7 evil exes instead of ex-boyfriends, and I feel like that's very important because, like,
You assume it would be all 7 evil ex-boyfriends.
So my number 6 is Good Girls, which Jace already hit on.
It's so good.
It's so good. One of my favorite things about it was that the trans kid is like 11, right? 11, 12, or 13, like in
the tween area.
Yeah, in that area, which I think is very important. It needs to be more acceptable that kids around that age are able to say like, hey, I'm a boy, or like, hey, I'm gay. Like it should be more recognized that they are able to make these decisions about themselves and that they're old enough to figure that out.
Oh yeah.
So I think that's very important.
My number 6 is Bonding.
I forgot about that show.
I love it. It's about this girl named Tiffany who is in grad school, and you know that life of trying to get through grad school and you're poor, and so she becomes a dominatrix at night, and she reconnects with her best friend from I think high school, and his name is Pete, and he is very gay and also doesn't know how to deal with that. Very shy, redheaded kid, and Tiff kind of enlists him to be a part of her dominatrix thing and like clean up after what goes on. Kind of gets roped into some of the scenarios as well. It talks about kink in a very positive light. It talks about sex work in a very positive light. It's just a very all-around good show. Highly recommend.
Is there season 2?
I don't know yet.
I don't either.
I have
I
not
saw
looked.
season 1 and I was like, fuck, that was good.
5, Mean Girls, because Mean Girls is one of those movies I would revisit because it's just iconic.
It's so good.
So my number 5 is Trinkets. It's on Netflix. The main character identifies as a lesbian. It doesn't kind of revolve around that. It's about 3 girls who are in this kind of like, it's not AA, but it's like a program like AA for stealing. And it kind of talks about how
yeah.
It's
Okay, now I remember.
so good. It's so well done. And the way they handle her coming out and like kind of finding herself and her sexuality, she does end up getting a girlfriend at the end. It's a very, very well done series. I watched it in like a day. It's so enjoyable.
Number 5 is Sense8 for me. It would be higher, but they canceled it after 2 seasons and made a movie that I felt was rushed. It's because it was hella expensive to film. It's about 8 people from around the world that become connected through their minds. It's hella cool. Out of the 8 strangers, there's Will, who's a cop from Chicago. There's Riley, a DJ from Iceland. Leto, a gay actor from Mexico, who later enters a poly relationship.
Oh shit.
A good one. Wolfgang, who's a locksmith from Germany, who's also got some like mafia past. I really don't know. There's Kala, a pharmacist and devout Hindu who's being arranged to marry a man that she doesn't love, and she really just wants to focus on her career. There's Nomi, a trans lesbian activist from San Francisco who also has a girlfriend. Capheus, who lives in Nairobi. He drives a bus. He's obsessed with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And Sun, who is an underground kickboxer and daughter of a powerful businessman in Seoul. And she ends up going to jail for her brother's embezzlement because her dad asked her to take the fall. There's just so many cool shots and like it's just highly recommended.
I've heard it's really good. I've never gotten around to watching it, but I've heard it's
They actually film in the different countries.
Alright, number 4.
Call Me By Your Name. Luke actually recommended me to watch that movie. I wasn't really going into it without any expectations of it because I didn't know what it was going to be about, but like it explores like very realistic like development of a relationship between 2 men, and also didn't really like it portrayed real feelings between 2 people, and I feel like in a lot of gay mainstream films they don't really have any realism.
It's all very superficial.
It's very superficial, and I feel like Call Me By Your Name was very tragic. It was very like it shows you reality of what it's like to live as 2, maybe even in the closet men who are trying to find themselves but also want to explore their feelings with each other.
It also looks at homosexuality like not through the Western lens as well. So you're talking about more of a European different focus on it.
My number 4 is called Fourth Man Out. It's such a good movie. It's on Netflix, or it was when I watched it. It's about this guy who struggles to come out to his like bros. It's so wholesome. Like
That sounds really cute.
it's so cute. Like his friends are all like, oh shit, dude, all right. Like they're like so supportive. It's just so cute. Yeah, it's just a very wholesome, feel good, like happy movie that talks a lot about.
For my number 4, I have Pose. So it is a series focused on the ballroom scenes of the 1980s, the New York-ish area, talking about trans women. It looks at trans experiences within a historical context, and it actually like talks about the difficulties that trans women faced in that time period, especially. A lot of people of color, it's a lot of actual trans people playing actual trans people.
My number 3, I got Orange is the New Black. It's very deep and has a lot of characters, and they have a balance between having healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships, and most of the relationships are toxic and unhealthy. It's prison.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the character development and how they really delve into like all the characters and their backstories, because you get to connect with each and every single one of these characters and not just the main character. In fact, I felt like the main character wasn't even that relevant compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
The series, yes.
Yes,
But,
I agree.
Altogether, like...
So my number 3 is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It is one of the first TV shows I ever watched, and I got really into it. What I love about it is they have, it was one of the first TV shows to really show a lesbian couple, and without it being overly sexualized, because a lot of the times lesbian couples specifically around that time period that Buffy was coming out were like mostly seen as sex objects and stuff like that, whereas Buffy really focused on Willow and Tara, like how much they cared about each other and how in love they were, and it showed the development of their relationship, and it was just amazing for its time period how well it handled that. It was one of the first TV shows to just have a lesbian couple ever. It's just an incredible show. Like vampires, like what's gayer than that?
Vampires are always either gay or badasses.
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
It is an incredible show. I cannot recommend it enough.
They're just not.
I mean-
They're just.
When you've been around for hundreds of years, you need some diversity. in
Yeah,
your life.
it's
I'm just thinking of Interview with a Vampire. Lestat is such a bi icon.
Like, fuck being.
Fuck being
Average.
straight.
yeah. So anyway, Buffy,
Sorry, y'all.
highly recommend that show. It's long, but it's incredible.
Thanks. Number 3, sex education. So it focuses on in England, in the UK, I believe, and it talks about the experiences of a kid who is the son of a sex therapist, giving sex advice to other kids that aren't getting the education when it comes to sex that they need and that they want, and they're not having their questions answered, so they just figure it out. And it has a lot of different representation. Queer characters, characters of color, and just a variety of different things. And it's very good. Oh, and the last season talks about sexual assault very well as well, and PTSD, and talks about a bunch of different things. It's very good.
All right, number 2.
I'm gonna do a full 180 in air. My number 2 is Sailor Moon. It's actually one of the first animated series that I watched as a kid that I was super invested in. Like I was unhealthy. It was unhealthy how invested I was in Sailor Moon, but I really loved the animation, but also it was talking about women, empowering women, but also it was supposed to be canonically gay, but Neptune and Uranus, they were supposed to be lovers, but they twisted that around. I didn't discover that until later. I really thought that was not cool what they did in the American dub. It was my door into other media and content that wasn't just for my gender role.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of got me outside of the box. That's probably where I started my journey and breaking the boundaries. Yeah.
My number 2 is Glee. I will be the first one to say Glee is not a perfect show. I am fully aware of this. But I personally, it is my guilty pleasure. I adore Glee. I wrote a whole paper on it once about how it had, for its time, it was one of the first shows that had a bisexual character, a lesbian character, a couple gay characters. It really allowed and showed people's sexuality in ways that wasn't really expressed before on TV. While it certainly has its flaws, most definitely has its flaws, it brought attention to a lot of things that weren't normally put in the spotlight in mainstream TV. I mean, Glee was a show that a lot of people watch. They did a very good job, in my opinion, at introducing these themes and ideas to a bunch of different people who wouldn't typically be watching a gay show. As it went on, it got very bad. But the first 3 seasons, I think, are phenomenal and do a very good job at talking about sexuality. It talks about internalized homophobia very well. It's one of the first shows to really do that, too.
Yeah.
Before that, it was mostly bullying because you're gay and I'm a jock. Whereas this one, it was bullying because you're gay and I'm secretly gay and I cannot handle that. It really talks about that. And when the character that had a lot of internalized homophobia, he started to accept it, he really started to love himself, and he then gets really bullied for it and attempts suicide, and that is just a heartbreaking scene, and they just did a very good job with that.
My number 2 is Grace and Frankie. These 2 older ladies, their husbands have been friends and law partners forever, and then at the beginning of the first episode, the 2 law partners are oh yeah, we've been cheating on both of you with each other for 20 years, and we're divorcing you both to live with each other. And Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin get divorced and start living together. Jane Fonda, of course, plays the uptight and martini-drinking alcoholic businesswoman, and Lily Tomlin, she is a very out there, liberal artist painting mess. She's a disaster. But they have to live together, and they figure out a whole bunch of things together. They learn how to tolerate each other. They talk about relationships with family and adult kids and aging. They deal with aging so well. They actually end up creating vibrators for older women who have arthritis and they can't hold things down there and stuff. And it's such a good show. It's 4 or 5 seasons. Highly recommend. It's over now.
So before we get to number 1, which we all actually have the same number 1, we're going to do some honorable mentions. My honorable mentions are She-Ra. Honestly, that would have been on my list, except I haven't finished it yet. I haven't gotten to exactly the queer parts of that yet, but it is phenomenal. I've seen season 1. I'm working my way through it. Another honorable mention I have is Never Have I Ever. It's a new show that just came out. It's on Netflix. It's very good. They have a lesbian character in it, and they handle her struggling to come out.
I have a few honorable mentions because I made a long list. I had to cut it down to 10. So I have Queer Eye, and then The Fosters, which you already talked about. I have Adventure Time, which features Marceline and Princess Bubblegum and other characters like that. And then I have The Good Place because Eleanor is very obviously openly bisexual.
Alright, so our number 1, which we all collectively agreed on, is Steven Universe.
Amazing.
Just so good. I can't even begin to explain how good Steven Universe is.
They are genderless rocks that present as women, powerful, wonderful women, and they are
They live together.
They all live together.
They all live together.
So good.
One of the women is 2 women.
Yeah, one of the women is made up of 2 women who get married. It's just...
it's so
It is absolutely phenomenal. It starts off really lighthearted, and then it goes into a lot of really deeper themes.
Talking about trauma.
Yes.
And having to grow up early.
They do a phenomenal job with trauma. A big part of the last bit of the whole series, Future. It talks about the aftermath of a young kid having to save the universe, basically. Because a lot of shows and books and stuff like that, like, oh, the kid saved the universe and now everyone's happy. When Steven really...
I mean, everyone was happy.
Yeah,
just wasn't.
Steven Universe Future really deals with how saving the universe is traumatic for a young kid, and how he had to go through that, and how everyone else around him is happy, and he doesn't understand why he doesn't feel like that, and he doesn't understand why he's having all these issues. So it really does a really good job showing trauma.
And dealing with anxiety as well.
Yes.
And also, they have, like, they also discuss not only non-binary representation, but they also have discussed, like, what a toxic relationship is versus what a healthy relationship is, how a relationship is like a conversation.
Right.
I feel like that's always...
Yes.
We need more kids media that can really, like, help educate them about these things.
That's probably one of the best parts about Steven, is that it explores like more complicated and complex feelings and how relationships should actually work in a way that like a child would understand, in a way that like would keep a kid's attention.
Also, the music is great.
The animation
is beautiful. The music is phenomenal. Like, everything about Steven is so good.
I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, there's not a single thing I could think of that is bad about that show.
Except for the fact it didn't go on longer.
Yeah, it should have kept going.
It ended.
Yeah, if you're looking for some lighthearted, just happy queer representation that teaches...
Well, it's lighthearted and happy.
It's lighthearted and happy. Throughout, but there's also some deeper themes, and it has a very complex story. If you have kids who you think could... I mean, any kid could benefit from this show, because any adult could benefit. Anyone. And literally any person could benefit from this show. It does a great job at, like we talked about, showing healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships.
And discussing why ones are unhealthy and ones are.
It is...
I could go on forever.
I could too. It is so good. Those were our top 10 TV shows and movies that we found have the really good queer representation that we just enjoyed a lot. You should definitely check those out.
We can talk about influential movies. Rocky did not make it.
Rocky did not make it on this list.
We can talk about that.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to see us kind of hit on topics like that and other media that has queer representation and stuff in that, let us know. Anyway, so like, subscribe, comment.
Share with your friends.
Hit that smash.
Hit that smash.
Hit the smash.
Goodbye.
Bye.